Good day and welcome to this presentation of learning support in mathematics. I really hope you will find this helpful, and we wish you all the best in your studies. The instructions, just like always, answer everything. Very important, write with a dark blue or black pen. Please don't write with any light colored pens, or use a pencil. Don't use a pencil. If you make a mistake, just neatly draw a line through it and rewrite it. Never use a pencil. Neat and tidy work is very important. So we have the 7 outcomes. In your study guide, it's very clearly explained, and everything is in the learning activities is actually the thing that you have to look at. See that you master the learning activities. After you have studied a unit, go through the learning activities. See how far you can answer it for yourself, and then look at the answers. Please don't go and look at the answers first. It's really not a good thing. You must first try. First go through the unit and then try to answer the questions and then go to the answers and see how far you were on track. About the questions, there's 4 types of questions. A short sentence where the question can be define, give a definition of any whatever word, and then you just write a short descriptive sentence saying exactly what the word means. Don't write a paragraph, just explain what it is. If a definition is asked, you don't give examples, and you just say what it is. Then short questions. Now, short questions can differ from length. Give the factors. Just give the factors. Give the principles, processes, the approaches, the methods, or give the types, or name them. Now, the name factors or name principles, you can just name them 1, 2, 3, 4. But it's not really enough just to give the 1, 2, 3, 4 names. You need to write a small or short description of each. Say what each is, and that is important. Remember, if I ask name 4 factors, and it counts 4 marks, you can't just give 1 word for 1 mark. You must give the word and in short say what it means. But if it counts 8 marks, then you have to really name them, say what it is, and give some, describe it a bit better. Remember, for 1 mark, 1 word is not enough. Then the long essay type of questions, that's very well explained in the study guide. Please go through that. But there's some important points I want to point out here. An essay, it's like if you read a storybook. There's no bullets, or there's no 1, 2, 3, 4 naming some points. It's a paragraph. You've got a paragraph, an introduction, and then the body, and then a conclusion. So stick to that. Never make bullets or numbers or points or something. It's an essay. It is a story. It's like a story you explain. And then the last one, the in your opinion questions. Remember, there's no correct or wrong answer. There's not a memo saying this is correct or wrong. This is an open-ended question. It is very important to give your opinion of the topic, and that can be different from the next person. But the most important is you must motivate it. You have to say, if I say yes, I like it or it's a good thing, I must say why I think it's a good thing, and I give reasons and I motivate my answer. Another person can say quite something different, even the opposite. But if the motivation is good enough and you can motivate your case, then you get the answers. So please don't try to just reproduce what is in the study guide. You have to give your own idea, especially now that you have already done some teaching practice and you have experienced some teaching, and you can form your own opinion of certain things. The first unit, you have the 5 learning outcomes, the learning cycle, approaches to teaching and learning, methods to support different learning abilities, mathematical learning difficulties, and the language of mathematics. Now, in the whole presentation, I'm just going to give you examples of questions so that you get the idea of how can the questions be asked and what can be asked. But there's more, and you have your study guide. Make summaries. Summarize your work in table form or in short, so that you have the facts and then a short description and maybe an example or two. And also remember, use examples what you have experienced in your learning, in your teaching experience. Name them for 4 marks. So the 4 processes of the learning cycle. If I ask, name them, you just give the 4 processes a short sentence each. Describe or discuss them for 8 marks. Now here you have to say exactly what it is, explain what it is, and then also a little bit more. Describe how they can be used to support mathematical learning. There you name them, and in short describe and support and the support it gives. So here is not just the name and the description and the support. So there it can be even count more marks. But a question like this can also count 8 marks, meaning you have to give 2 facts for 1 mark. It's not always just 1 fact for 1 mark. So make sure you give enough information. Then describe what learners do and teachers do during each learning cycle stage. So you name them, you describe in short, and you describe in short the teachers and teachers' role. So there's, from the same question, the different kinds of questions that can be asked for different number of marks. A second kind of question, 2 approaches to teaching and learning. Give a definition of the different learning approaches and give a disadvantage of each approach for 4 to 6 marks. So here you have to name, you have to define them, say what it is, and then give a disadvantage of each. Now, read the question clearly. It doesn't ask advantages. So you only give disadvantages. In other questions, advantages and disadvantages could be asked. A second type of question that could be asked on the same topic, again, describe or discuss. Then it's the same as in number 1, but you give some examples of each approach. And another kind of question of the same thing, explain what is meant by children are not empty vessels. Now, this is a question, and questions like this will be asked because this is your own idea, your own opinion. It's testing your own experience and idea of a thing. There's no facts from the study guide which explain this. So here you have to give your own opinion and explain. Methods to support different learning abilities. Give reasons for different methods used to teach mathematics. So here's some reasons. For 3 marks, you just describe with 2 sentences each. For 6 marks, you describe and explain in at least 3 sentences for each reason. Name the different methods to support support the different learning abilities. For 6 marks, name them, say what each applies, and for 12 marks, same as for 6 marks, but give good examples of each. And a third type of question, which method do you think is best for a learner who has difficulties in sitting and listening at his or her desk? This is also not described and facts from the study guide. This is questions from your teaching experience and your own idea. Give your own opinion. Give reasons and examples. There's no right and wrong answer. You have to explain what you think. Maybe in your teaching experience you had a learner like that, and a plan that you made, or you think of what can you do to solve this problem. And it's not necessarily one of the 6 discussed in the study guide. Maybe from your own teaching experience. And look at the words in the question. Which method do you think? So this is again a type of an open-ended question. There's no really right and wrong answers. There are some guides and there are some facts from the study guide, but you have to give your own opinion. Say, I think this and this and this, or in my opinion, I would do this and this and this, or as you can describe it. Mathematical learning difficulties. Okay, there's 4 types. It's clearly explained and described in your study guide. You can discuss the types for 4 marks. You name them and describe each. You can discuss the types for 8 marks. You name them, you describe them, and give an example of each in the mathematics field, not from other fields. Remember, this is mathematics, and you're teaching mathematics. Always keep that in mind. So the same question can count 4 or 8 marks, and that must give you a lead. So for 4 marks, name and discuss or describe. For more marks, you have to give good examples, even if it's not asked in the question. The marks must lead you. Describe the possible causes for 4 marks. You name them and explain or describe each. Describe useful strategies to overcome learning difficulties for 4 marks. Again, you name them and explain or describe them. So you will see the same type of question demands the same type of answer. And if you go through this presentation, I think you will get a good idea of how the questions can be asked and how your answers should be. Then we have the language of mathematics. The essay on language of mathematics is discussed in the feedback in the study guide. So take note, it's explaining there how the essay format is and how you should tackle it and how you should write that essay. So make sure that you can write an essay. I'm sure that there will be, of all the types, different types of questions that you will find in the exam paper. Otherwise, it's not a good paper. So make sure you know exactly what is expected when it says write an essay. Describe how you would plan your daily lessons in order to incorporate the learning of mathematics vocabulary on a daily basis. Give examples of what you would practically do. So this is also not a list of facts or described in the study guide. This is your own opinion, where you can create your own method, maybe from experience or advice from others. So there's no correct or wrong answer. Again, open-ended question. Your creativity is tested here. This question can count from 3 to 5 marks. And depending on that, you write the length of your answer in the correct length. Describe, give reasons, give examples. Then, as I already said, the learning activities, that's a very good guide of different type of questions, and the answers are also explained. And see that you master that feedback and that you know exactly what is expected from you in the exam. And don't just rush through it. Study through each unit. We get to Unit 2. Planning a mathematics lesson. Role of practice, how concepts are acquired, using games, materials for teaching, and questioning and answering. So this covers study unit 2. In planning a mathematics lesson, you can name and describe the 4 factors. Consider when planning a lesson. Name and describe the 4 factors to take into account when deciding how to teach a topic. Can you see that these 2 questions are different? And don't mix them up. The first one is the factors consider when planning a lesson. This is about planning. The second one is deciding how to teach the topic. Which teaching method you're going to use. Why do I choose this method? Can you see the difference? Don't confuse them. Read very carefully your questions. Name and discuss the elements that should be included in a lesson plan. So this is a very specific question on lesson planning. It's not just about lesson planning and you just write some lesson planning. It's this specific, the elements that should be included. And number 4, why do you think it's important to prepare a lesson plan for each lesson? In this question, you can give some facts from your study guide, but your own opinion with reasons should also be in the answer. And if your opinion and your reasons are well motivated, you can expect full marks for that. So don't hesitate to give your own opinion and your own idea of how you will choose and how you will prepare. The role of practice. What is meant by practice in a mathematics lesson? This is a definition. You have to formulate yourself carefully. It's not given in the study guide. So prepare this. And when you go through a study unit, as you go through it and you prepare it and you summarize it, ask yourself, what kind of questions can be asked here? What kind of questions can be asked as open-ended question? Where can you give your own opinion? Or what do I think? So study the unit with that in your mind. Search for questions or look for questions that can be asked. That's not just plain facts from the study guide, but some creative questions where you have to give your own idea and opinion. Keep that in mind as you study through the units. Don't just go through the facts and the information given in the guide. Think of other questions also. Now, why is practice necessary? This can be for 2 or 3 marks. Describe the 5 important principles of practice. So yes, again, that is facts that you have studied and you can just reproduce that. But number 4 is again in your own opinion. Why should practice never be given as punishment? So that is your own opinion and you must go and sit and think, why? And what can be the disadvantage and so on, and what damage can it do? You have to give your own opinion, motivate your answer very well, and give reasons why you say that. Motivations, give reasons, and then you're on the right track. How concepts are acquired. There you can say, describe with examples the main types of learning experiences, name them, describe what each implies, and give an example of each. This can count up to 8 to 9 marks. Let the marks guide you of what you're going to write. Just name and describe them can maybe count 4 or 5 marks. And what each implies and give examples can count more marks. So always check out the marks and decide exactly what to write. Don't write too much if it's just 4 marks or 2 marks, and don't write too little when it's 9 marks or more. Using games. Discuss the benefits of using games when teaching mathematics. Name and give reasons for each benefit. Again, it's not just about games, and that you must name the benefits and give a reason for each benefit. You have to sit. If you get a question in the assignment or in the exam, sit and analyze the question first. Don't just think, oh, I've studied this about games, and now you start writing all you know about it. Study and analyze the question clearly, and underline or highlight and see, this is what's asked, and that is what I must answer, and not all the other knowledge that I have studied and know so well, but you can't write it. Answer only what is asked. Give the properties of a good game. That's straightforward. How often would you use games to teach some mathematical concepts? So this is also there's no right or wrong answer. I can't tell you how many times you should use games. Remember, we all have our own personalities. No one teacher teaches the same as another. You have your own style, your own way of doing things, and you have your preferences also. So this is 100% your own opinion, but you have to motivate your answer clearly. And your motivation must fit your opinion. So give reasons why you say what you say. And these questions are really actually very good challenging questions to challenge you and see, do you have an idea of teaching, and have you already started to form your own style? That's important. Each teacher has its own style, and you have to develop that. And in the end, you use certain things more than others, or certain methods, because that's how you develop them and how you feel, and that's your personality. Materials. The next point, discuss useful teaching aids for the mathematics class. Name them, discuss each shortly, or give good examples of each. So you let the number of marks, you will see now I didn't put in or mention marks anymore, because I've done that in the previous slides, and now you have to see if its marks are 2 or 4 or 8, you know exactly what to do. Name and describe in short, or describe thoroughly and give examples, and so on. What are the advantages of using a textbook for mathematics? And this sounds also like you can also form your own opinion. You can also give the facts, if there are some facts that you've studied, and you can also add to that your own creative thoughts and opinions. What are the disadvantages of using a textbook for mathematics, in your opinion? Again, your opinion. The moment you see those words, in your opinion, or how do you think, or what would you choose, those kind of words, that is open-ended questions with no right or wrong answers. Have to motivate thoroughly with good reasons. Questioning and answering. Discuss the reasons why questioning is important when teaching mathematics. Name the reasons and describe each shortly. Here, from your teaching experience, you also must have experienced this kind of thing, why you should ask and ask again, and tomorrow ask again. Give the general principles of effective questioning. Name them and describe each shortly. A teacher can address a question to the whole class. Let them put up their hands and then appoint one learner to answer. This is a typical way of asking questions. I ask a question to the whole class. Everybody put up their hands. Nobody may shout out. And I appoint somebody by name to answer. Again, in your opinion. There's no right or wrong answer. What is the advantages and disadvantages of this method? So it leaves you with some thinking. And you have to think very deeply, why is it an advantage? Why is it a disadvantage? So these are the interesting questions that can stimulate you to think really creatively in the field of how to teach mathematics. There's only one learning activity in this unit. Make sure you master the feedback at the back given in your study guide. Study Unit 3. This is now more about mathematics itself, the teaching of addition, subtraction, multiplication, etc. And introducing the part, whole, and geometric shapes. Cardinal numbers, ordinary type of questions. Explain the difference between cardinal numbers and ordinal numbers. Explain the differences between row counting and rational counting. Then, the next question again, would you use songs and rhymes to teach learners numbers? Why? Will this method be enough to develop the necessary number sense? Give reasons. So again, your own opinion and reasons, but as well as the facts that's given about this topic can also be used. So it's not always just your own opinion. There's sometimes some facts that you have studied that you can also give in your answer, and then also add to that your own idea and opinion. Addition, subtraction, multiplication. Which stages of teaching and learning are involved? Describe each shortly. Critical evaluate the following statement. Okay, now this question, critical evaluate, is also, those two words explains the question. You must give arguments for and against the statement. So there's a statement. Learners should memorize the multiplication tables very well. You must give arguments for and against that statement. Even if it's such a statement that you overwhelming feel this is a must, you can give your advantages and say why, but you must also give something against it, and some or other argument against it. And then very important in this critical evaluate questions, you have to state clearly in a conclusion paragraph why you are for or against it. You can't just start writing a lot of arguments for or against, and you have to really make 2 paragraphs or 3 paragraphs. Say, first of all, this statement, advantages for this statement, disadvantages for this statement in a second paragraph, and then in a conclusion paragraph, state very clearly, I am against it or I am for it, and this is my reasons. And it's really important that you structure this answer like that, not just a lot of facts plotted down. Logic and classifying skills. Name the properties for classifying and grouping objects. Straightforward. Look at the number of marks allocated. How long? Name them and shortly discuss. Name them, discuss, and give examples. Even if it's not said, but the marks must tell you that. Discuss the properties for classifying and grouping objects. You have to name them and shortly explain them. Same as question 1, just a little bit more. Name them and explain them. And question 3, which learning experiences are incorporated in lessons on logic and classifying skills? Name the 3 learning experiences and shortly discuss each. So this is a very straightforward question, and you know you have to name them and say what it is, and then also describe them and discuss them shortly. Comparison making. Give a definition. Here you have to say what it is. Explain the difference between informal comparing and number comparing. So explain the difference. So you can even answer this question in a column type of columns, 2 columns. The differences, you put the heading informal comparing and number comparing, and you put the differences between each. Which learning experiences are incorporated in lessons on logic and classifying skills? Name the 3 learning experiences and shortly discuss them. So this is also let the marks guide you, whether it's 3 marks or 6 marks. For 3 marks, you have to name and say something about them. And for 6 marks, you have to name them and describe them and discuss them for 6 marks. Remember, if it's going double, it's always much more to write. And thoroughly then give the explanation and the discussion and even examples from the mathematics classes. Geometric shapes, interesting topic to teach. When you have to teach geometric shapes for the first time, which activities do you think will be best to use, and which aids would you prepare and use for this lesson? This is completely your own idea and your own creative thinking that is attested here. So whatever you say there, you must say what you will prepare, how and why, and so on. So this is really an example of an open-ended question. And also let the marks also guide you. If it's only 4 marks or 3 marks, you have to say which activities and what you will prepare. But if it's for 6 marks or 8 marks, you have to really say which activities, what you will use, and describe more what aids you will prepare and how you will use them. How, and maybe also which part of the lesson in the beginning or in the middle of a lesson you will do this and then hand out this and so on. So let again the marks lead you of how many facts and how much you must describe. Again, according to your opinion, how many different shapes will you introduce in one lesson? You will not find this in the study guide. This is your own opinion, and you have to sit and think a little bit. Will I give 1? Will I give 2? Will I give 3? And why? And why not 5 or 10? And why not 6 or 7? And why? So reasons, very, very important here. Part-whole relationships. Part-whole relationships are very, very important. Based for a certain mathematics topic later. Which mathematical topic? And this I leave to you. And it's very common knowledge here, but it's so important for later on for that specific topic. Give the 3 types of part-whole relations that learners need to become familiar with. Explain each. It's very straightforward. You have to give the types, say what it is, and explain each. What is the common misconception young learners have concerning part-whole relationships? You give examples. Give an example. So there it says very clearly what you have to answer. And that takes care of study unit 3. Study unit 4, ordinary patterning, measuring weight, length and temperature. Understanding money, working with time, applying knowledge through dramatic play. This unit and these topics are some of the brighter topics to teach, because you can apply a lot of it, very practical, and you can use very interesting methods to teach this. Ordinary and patterning. It involves words like next, last, biggest, smallest, before and after. These words were mentioned in your study guide. Now give 5 more examples. So do you see, if you summarize and go through the study guide and the work in it. If they give examples, try and give also your own example and add to that. So here I'm asking 5 more examples and not just those. So you have to think, and it will be a good idea that you make notes in your study guide and put some more things, give more examples. When there's given 2 or 3 examples, give your own. And when you study, it's always good to go a little bit further and take that extra mile. Give definitions of ordering and patterning, that is definitions in your own words. Start your definition with ordering is when, blah, 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 blah. And patterning is when. So also a little bit of thinking there. 3 common pattern abilities learners have to master, and give examples of each. Straightforward, a plain logic question. Measuring volume, weight, length, temperature. Give 1 example of how you will teach length inside and 1 outside. Now, very important also, when your questions say give 1 example, don't give 2 or more. Give exactly what the question asked. 1 inside and 1 outside, and that's it. To which other subjects or other activities in school can you combine the teaching of the above topics? Give some examples. Open-ended question, your own idea, and you have to sit and think which subjects I can combine. I can maybe arrange with the teacher to combine this class, and we cover then both that lesson as well as the mathematics. It can be anything. It says in the school. Which other subjects in the school? It can be academic subjects, or it can be other subjects like sports and library and choir or singing, or any other period in the school that can combine with teaching this topic. Money. Choose 1 money-based activity you will use when presenting a lesson on money. Describe how you will plan and prepare this lesson. This is now a long question. So you will say which activity, and then the describe, and you plan and prepare the lesson, how you will plan and how you will prepare. So this is also open-ended. There's no right or wrong answer. It depends on how you motivate and how well you choose the activity. Time. Difference between sequence of time and duration of time. Plain facts that you have to reproduce. Then again, this critically evaluate. Remember, arguments for it, against it, and say in the end your conclusion, why, what, which one you choose, are you for or against, and why. Storybooks are a useful resource for teaching children about time sequences. Storybooks. This is not about storytelling and about stories in general. Don't confuse that. I've seen in the past answers that came from learners about this question. Storybooks are useful, and they describe storytelling and story time and stories in general and stories at home, and just stick to the topic, storybooks, and think of your own ideas and opinions. That is what is asked when it says critical evaluate. Your own idea, your own examples, and your own opinion. Dramatic play, that's also a method to teach different aspects of mathematics. Now, which topic in mathematics would you consider being a good choice to teach through dramatic play? Again, you have to think and sit and think which topic you're going to tackle with this. You can't do this with all topics, and you can't do this every week, so just once in a while. Give an example and state clearly the reason for your choice. Can you see motivation and reason for answers are very important, because that's where you get your marks. For good reasoning and good motivation. Study Unit 5, graphs, percentages, decimal, angles, and measurement. The graphs that representing data, like in a bar chart, name the 5 different skills which are applied to creating and working with graphs. Now, if I say graphs, it's in general. Only name the skills. Discuss the different skills which are applied in creating and working with graphs for 10 marks. See, the same question, but there you only name the skill for 5 marks, and it's not just a one-word name. You name them and a short description of each. For 10 marks, you name them, short description also, and you discuss each shortly. Percentages. There's a relationship between fractions and percentages, or is. Is there a relationship? Explain your answer and give examples, or of how you can help learners to understand percentages through fractions. So in this, you give examples of some mathematic calculations. You show, you first describe, and then you show with examples. Discuss a few examples of where percentages are used in school as well as daily life. Again, open-ended question, your own opinion. Sit and think, where in the school do I use percentages? Where outside the school in everyday life, at home, in the social community, etc. Again, your own answer, not facts from the book. The decimal system. It is easier to understand decimals than fractions. This is again a statement. Do you agree or not? Give clear arguments for and against the statement. State clearly in a conclusion why you agree or disagree. And again, as I've stated before, in all these kind of questions, this statement, given a statement, you have to say arguments for, arguments against, say what you choose. That's so important. If you just write a lot of arguments, but in the end you don't say, I am for, I agree with this statement, or I disagree with the statement, you must say that clearly and a short reason why, because in your arguments you're already sort of motivated. Angles, discuss 2 examples of angles in everyday life and how you can use it in a lesson to explain angles. This is a very open question. Examples of angles in everyday life. You can think of anything inside the class, inside the home, even in your body, etc. And the metric system for measurement. How can you use the meaning of the Greek Latin words to explain the metric system? Give examples of some general used units. This is very interesting here. If you explain to the learners gram, kilogram, meters, kilometers. And so, by the way, the correct pronouncing is not kilometers. That's American slang. It's kilometers, centimeters, kilometers. So liters, kiloliters, milliliters. If you explain the original Greek or Latin words to the learners, what does the word kilo actually mean? Give a synonym for kilo. Kilo means 1,000. So if you see kilometer, you use the synonym for kilo, which means 1,000 meter. Kilogram, 1,000 gram. Whereas centi is also so easy to remember, because how many cents in a dollar? 100 cents in a dollar. What does centi mean? Centi means 100th. So if I say centimeter, the synonym for centi is 100th. And that means 100th meter. And that will help if they know the description or the meaning of the name. It can open up and let them understand much better, and not just given them some tables and here you multiply with 1,000 and 100 and that's 100 centimeters in a meter and 1,000 meters in a kilometer. But if they learn the words, I'm explaining it here because it's not really in your books, but it's very interesting. And if you go and search, maybe look up on the internet, you will see these words and the explanations of them. Activity number 5.1, make sure that you can answer it, and first answer it and then look at the questions. Okay, we get to the second last topic, study unit 6, construction materials in the classroom, storage, developing concepts outside the classroom, songs and rhymes. So here we go to a lot of practical things and going home to parents and how they can support. Construction materials in the classroom. It's important to use different kinds of practical materials in the teaching of mathematics. Again, open-ended question, statement, I agree, I disagree, what's the advantages, disadvantages, motivate your answer well. Storage. Now here's your essay. Write an essay on storage of mathematical materials. Use the common guidelines of answering the questions why, where, when, who, and how. So that's your basic thing for answering why, where, when, how. And this, if you give a short description of each, you will already be on track. And remember, essay has no points or bullets or numbers or any headings or topics. Now, concepts outside the classroom, again, you can use other subjects, give examples of other subjects where cross-curricular teaching can take place, as well as other non-academical periods or even extramural activities, like in the afternoons, sport or choir or debating or whatever extramural activities the learners have. You can combine that and arrange with the teacher, etc. Now it says here, explain how you will arrange such interaction. So this is actually a question on planning, because you have to really follow steps, first deciding on which subject or which topic or activity you will want to combine. Contact the teacher. There's a lot of preparing and steps that you have to follow. So this is a lot of own thinking and planning, and also your own personal experience. Songs and rhymes. Discuss the advantage as well as limitations. This is straightforward, giving some facts. Harnessing cultural artifacts for learning. Just one question, how can you make sure to minimize the risk of excluding students due to cultural differences? Sit and think and give some good answers there. Parents and family supporting. Teacher can reach parents by writing a letter or email, phone call. Name the problem you as teacher might experience in which of these methods of communication. With each of these methods of communication. So again, state what you think, your opinion, and motivate it. Useful websites for mathematical teaching. Would you as teacher advise parents? And why? And give reasons for your answer. Again, your own idea. Sit and think. And you have also used the internet a lot, and think of what advantages and what disadvantages. If you go into some American mathematics lessons, can you use it just like that, or must you do something or change it, or so explanations, worksheets, etc. Assessment, so important. whichever way of assessment is used, assessment is important. The types of assessments, compare formative and summative assessments in terms of goals, advantages, disadvantages. So this is a straightforward, compare them. So there you can also answer in a table form. Make 2 columns and you can answer it like that. And give examples of each. So you compare them, what this is, what is disadvantage, advantage, etc. Homework as effective learning support. Explain how homework can be valuable. And that's a straightforward question. Explain and let the marks again guide you, like in all other questions. If it's for 4 marks, you explain in a paragraph of about 4 to 6, 7 lines. If it's for 8 marks, you have to really go deeper into the explanation. Setting mathematics test is also such an important thing, to ask the questions in a right way. And what are you testing? What is the aim of a mathematics test? Straightforward question. There are 4 levels of testing questions. Name them, give examples. So for 4 levels, for 4 answers or 4 facts, you must name them and discuss them a little bit, say what it is, and give examples. So 4 marks, 6 marks, 8 marks, depending on how much is expected. And then again, in your opinion, what percentage of the question paper should each of the 4 levels of questions be? Now you have the different levels of questioning, the straightforward basic ones, a little bit more insight, and then your really deep insight questions, which only a few in the class can answer, but you must have that challenging questions also. And preparing the learners for examination, yes, again, a statement. Revision is very important to prepare learners for examination. You can disagree or agree. You just have to say arguments, state clearly arguments for and against, and decide, just like all the other statement questions. Prepare some of these questions very thoroughly on your own. I can give you a tip. If I set up an exam assignment or exam paper, there's 7 units. I'm definitely going to ask a statement question. I'm definitely going to ask an essay. So in each study unit, prepare an essay, prepare a statement question, arguments for and against. I've given you so many examples. You can think of more. I've given you at least in each unit 1 of the types of questions. So you go and you think of another essay type question that possibly can be asked in this unit, or another fact question, arguments for and against, and decide what you choose for or against and give your reasons. Prepare some more. Think what other questions can be asked. There will be in all question papers. I mean, it's logic. Otherwise, the question paper is not set very well. Assessing developmental progress. Give reasons why individual assessment interviews are sometimes used to discover a learner's proficiency in mathematics and interpreting the results. Why is descriptive feedback on tests and examinations important? You can really think here why, and your communication with parents, why they need to know what is happening in the classroom, what the test results are, etc. So I really hope I've given you some good ideas and examples, and how you must expect a assignments and the question paper, how it will look like, and how to prepare. And I really want you to prepare well, and I'm looking forward to answer your scripts. So may God bless you in your examination as well as in your career as a teacher.